Hey everyone, it's Mike. I review nootropics and talk personal development. And during this video today, I'm going to rate a number of nootropics from a scale of 1 to 10. I'm looking at examine.com and wow, we've got a whole list of supplements. So in alphabetical order, I'm going to skip the supplements that are for general health. We're specifically going to talk about nootropics here. And I would imagine that a lot of you here have tuned into the video just wanting to know about a specific nootropic. So feel free to look in the description box for specific timestamps to any particular nootropic that you're looking for information on. So how I'm ranking these nootropics are in which a 10 out of 10 would be something that is not only effective, but is inexpensive and relatively safe. And on the contrary, a 1 out of 10 would be ineffective, not safe, and you can say expensive. And give this a like, give it a subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. So let's get right into it. In alphabetical order, the first would be ADRAFINIL. ADRAFINIL, I would rate it 5 out of 10. It's very powerful for focus, for mood as well. But the reason it's only 5 out of 10 is that I notice I get a lot of irritability once I'm on it after about 7 to 8 hours. ALPHA-GPC, I would rate that 7 out of 10. It's very powerful for fighting fatigue. It works really well with the racetams and other nootropics. And when I say it's going to help you fight off fatigue, you're going to have a better work ethic and your memory is going to be better. You'll just be sharper for more time. Alpha-lipoic acid, I would rate it 6 out of 10. It's a good nootropic, although it's just not that powerful. It's relatively safe, and it's more so used for things like anti-aging, for people with diabetes. It's a good tool that way, but for most people, they won't really notice much. ANIRACETAM, I would rate it 7 out of 10. What it's very powerful for is for reducing social anxiety. You'll find that when you're in conversations with people, the conversations just go well, it's lighter, you're less attached to the outcome, and you're just a better conversationalist. And you enjoy talking to people more, so I like it that way. Next, we have ashwagandha. Now, I would rate ashwagandha 6 out of 10. It's really powerful in fighting stress, fighting anxiety, but what the cons are that some people feel a bit too relaxed, they feel a little bit demotivated. But with ashwagandha, for most people it's going to help. It's just not as effective as they may expect. It has really good results, not only mentally, but hormonally as well. So if you're looking to improve your physique, ashwagandha is a nootropic that can perhaps help you that way. Next, we have BACOPA MONNIERI. I would rate BACOPA 8 out of 10. Similar to ashwagandha, it's an adaptogen. It's going to help you to fight stress and fight anxiety. But where BACOPA MONNIERI is very powerful, in which ashwagandha isn't, is at improving your memory. So short-term memory, long-term memory, your ability to retain information, you should see pretty good results. And if you aren't, then I would recommend that you use the Synapsa or the Baconize. Next, we have BETA-ALANINE. A lot of people may not believe this is a nootropic itself, but in my opinion it is, because there's evidence showing that it can help you if you're sleep deprived. So somebody who's sleep deprived typically would be in a worse mood. They're going to have more instances of forgetting things, which beta-alanine can help. And this is something which is very common in pre-workouts, something like a dose of 3 to 4 grams. Beta-alanine, I would rate it 3 out of 10 just because it's pretty expensive and not that effective in my opinion. Next, we have black pepper. Black pepper, in my opinion, this is a nootropic. It's very often used in nootropic blends to increase the absorption and improve the efficiency of nootropics. You'll find very often that like ashwagandha is being mixed with black pepper. Not that effective for me and does actually cause a bit of stomach upset. So that one I would rate that 2 out of 10. CDP-CHOLINE, very effective stuff. There's evidence showing that it helps with attention, cognitive decline. I rate that 6 out of 10. I'm not rating it higher just because alpha-GPC is more effective in my opinion. Next we have caffeine, and I would rate caffeine a 9 out of 10. That's our first 9 out of 10 because it has so many benefits, not only for mental performance, but for physical performance as well. There's evidence showing that it helps people with depressive symptoms, with general mood, things like your hand-eye coordination. There's just so many benefits. It's just a matter of finding a way in which caffeine can work for you. So if you don't respond that well to caffeine, then check out this video on caffeine and L-THEANINE and you may find that helpful. Alright, next we have cinnamon, and a lot of people may disagree with me on this, but cinnamon in my opinion is quite a powerful nootropic. I actually do take the cinnamon extract capsules, which you can find, so I would rate that 6 out of 10. It's similar to alpha-lipoic acid in that it's going to help you with your insulin sensitivity. Alright, next we have CoQ10. I'd rate it 2 out of 10, just hasn't been effective for me, and most of the research shows that if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you're probably not going to notice much. Senior citizens or elder people, they may notice like a subtle boost in energy, but pretty much that's it. Next would be COLURACETAM. I would rate that 5 out of 10 just because it's good for keeping you calm, being relaxed, being somewhat creative, just not that effective in my opinion and really expensive compared to other nootropics. Next, CORDYCEPS, I'd rate that 3 out of 10. I did try it in a number of different forms. For me, it didn't really do much. If anything, I got like a subtle increase in aerobic capacity, so my cardio was a little bit easier, but just it wasn't effective enough to justify buying it again. Alright, next is creatine. I rate it 6 out of 10. Research on creatine shows that it's good for memory, it's good for general cognition, and it's good as well for fighting any symptoms of being in a sleep-deprived state. But I do think that it's pretty overrated as a nootropic, so that's why I'm not rating it higher. And I do also find that with creatine, the one issue is it requires you to drink more water. So most people are already not drinking enough water, and if you take creatine, it's just going to make things worse. Alright, next would be D-aspartic acid. There's some research showing that you can experience a slight boost in your T levels. Hasn't been my experience, maybe like a little bit of a mood boost, but I would rate it 3 out of 10 because it just really doesn't do too much. Next under E would be ephedrine. Ephedrine, as far as a nootropic, it's good for focus. What's different than ephedrine versus caffeine is I actually find that ephedrine's better for studying than caffeine in terms of being able to read things and retain information. With caffeine, it's such a mood booster that it kind of offsets your judgment a little bit, which doesn't make you in the best state to remember things. But ephedrine's good that way, and it's also, in my opinion, the most powerful appetite suppressant out there. So I would rate it 5 out of 10. Just what I don't like about it is that it's very powerful and it can do some strange things hormonally. Like there was a time when I was using a lot of ephedrine and I was just retaining so much water that made me realize, like, damn, this is pretty strong stuff. G, we have GINKGO biloba. I would rate that 3 out of 10. Doesn't really do too much, but what's cool is that it can increase blood flow to the brain and to the body as well. There are some studies showing that it can improve your memory, but once you're exposed to things like paracetam or BACOPA, then you probably know that GINKGO biloba definitely not worth the money, so I would vote that one thumbs down pretty much. Alright, next, green tea. I rate it 7 out of 10. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's good for your general health. It's an antioxidant. It's also going to help with anti-aging. You really can't go wrong with it, and it's relatively affordable. So if anything, don't get the extract, just get the tea. Doesn't taste too bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but you get used to it. Next nootropic would be HUPERZINE-A. I rate that one 1 out of 10 because there's some bad studies shown on it as well, and I think it's just pretty much overhyped. I remember back like 7-8 years ago when everybody was talking about HUPERZINE-A, but just wasn't effective for me, and I'd be surprised if it's effective for you. If it is, then you let me know, as I'm all about breaking my beliefs. Alright, and next we've got L-CARNITINE. I'd rate that 4 out of 10. There's some interesting research showing that it can help you utilize fat for fuel. So move like your fat cells over to the mitochondria to help you in essence use fat instead of glucose. I mean, like kind of like ketosis. So 4 out of 10, nothing higher just because it's not as effective as kind of promised. Next we've got L-TYROSINE. Oh my gosh, L-TYROSINE, I'd rate it 10 out of 10 probably just because it's not only affordable, effective, but it's safe as well. I think most people can notice it working. L-TYROSINE is one of those things like I've been using almost every day for like 9 to 10 years. I mean, mind you, it's not as effective as some things like modafinil or phenylpiracetam, but what's just great about L-TYROSINE is you can take it knowing that, again, it's relatively safe. I mean, the stuff is in chicken breast, egg whites, go figure. It's just the magic happens when you take it free form. Next, L-THEANINE. It's not in this list in examine.com, but it can't be ignored. I'd rate it 7 out of 10. It's a good nootropic to help you fight some of the anxiety or jitters or bad effects that you would get from caffeine. So it's good that way. And lion's mane, I believe, has a different name, but let's say it falls under the category of L. Great, it's a great nootropic. I would rate that one 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5. And what it's going to do, it's going to help you boost your BDNF. I would recommend you look up that term, which in essence means it makes you smarter. You'll find that your anxiety's down. You're more curious about things. You'll probably be a better student. You're just working better as an individual. You'll probably find that you can retain information better. You're more interested in people, and your whole life kind of becomes brighter as a result. It's very powerful stuff. All right, next we're in M, and we've got modafinil. Modafinil, I'd rate it 8 out of 10. I think that it can't be replaced as far as what it can do for you in terms of just speeding you up. You're able to multitask more efficiently. You're able to read a lot faster while retaining information. But it's not higher because, again, you are somewhat robotic. You won't have the same social skills that you typically have. You're just too damn impatient. So it's not ideal for everything. But work ethic up, processing speed way up, and it's good that way. Next, we've got Mucuna pruriens. I'll rate that 7 out of 10. I think it's really good just for a general mood enhancer, but I don't think it's as safe as L-TYROSINE and just it's being something you can use every single day. Alright, next, N-ACETYLCYSTEINE. This is one of those cool nootropics that people use for OCD. It's also a general antioxidant. I would rate it 6 out of 10 just because it's can be effective for some people, but some people just don't notice much from it, and I kind of fit that category too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, next we've got NOOPEPT. I've made so many videos on this. I'll rate it 8 out of 10. The reason it's not higher is just because it doesn't work for everybody, but it's a relatively safe nootropic to take to improve your focus, improve your mood. However, it really won't help you in the space of like being more creative, kind of like something like lion's mane would. That's kind of the only con. It just can make you focus on the wrong things if you're in a slump. But really, like, no bad side effects and just a good thing to try overall. It's pretty inexpensive too. And next would be oxiracetam, which I would rate 7 out of 10. It's quite similar to NOOPEPT, just the only thing is it's probably a little bit less effective and it takes longer for most people to start working, but there is a bit of an acute effect. Alright, next, PRL-853. What an interesting name. Like, it's like a research chemical. I'd rate that one 3 out of 10. I've used it 5 to 10 times. Didn't do too much for me, but a lot of people do experience like a bit of a memory boost once they're on it. For me, like, I actually experienced some downs with it. It was not only ineffective, but I actually felt worse for a couple of hours. PANAX ginseng, I would rate that 4 out of 10. There's studies showing that it can really help you to fight stress, similar to other adaptogens, but with me, I've experienced a bit of irritability on it, so I don't like it too much. Alright, next nootropic would be PHENYLPIRACETAM. I'd rate it 10 out of 10. I've made so many videos on it. I'm going to recommend you check out this one right here. It's very powerful as far as like a mood stimulant, mood enhancer, as well as like a physical stimulant. And I would really be surprised if you've used it and not really noticed any results or anything from it. Next would be phosphatidylserine. I rate it 6 out of 10. It's similar to ashwagandha in that it's going to help reduce your cortisol levels, but what I feel is one of the best uses for it is for all-nighters. If you're somebody that needs to catch up on sleep or isn't getting enough sleep, you can almost feel like immediately when you take phosphatidylserine that all that bad buildup you may have of being sleep deprived is like wiped away. Piracetam, I rate it 7 out of 10. I think that goes with all the racetams except for phenylpiracetam and coluracetam because it's such that it's effective but not that effective, but at the same time it's relatively affordable and seems quite safe. Piracetam is something that I didn't really notice for months, and then I could definitely tell it was working in terms of improving my memory and that it makes other nootropics work more effectively. Like when I mix piracetam with other racetams, just everything has this beautiful synergy to it. Alright, next, PRAMIRACETAM. I rate that 8 out of 10. It's higher just because it's more effective than piracetam. It's a lot more potent, but it's not for everybody. More so if you're like me, you have a job which requires a lot of like repetitious boredom, making presentations, making phone calls. I think that's where PRAMIRACETAM kind of shuts down your emotions in a good way and allows you to be good and comfortable with being bored when it matters. Alright, next we're at R and we've got Rhodiola rosea, which I would rate 9 out of 10. It's like a nap in a pill. It fights any fatigue that you experience throughout the day. So I don't like it first thing in the morning, but like somewhere around 12, 1 o'clock p.m. or after like 4 or 5 hours of intense work, then you can really feel it just fight off fatigue and allows you to improve your performance and have a better work day. Let's talk about PHENIBUT. Even though it's not in this list, it's obviously going to be asked, so I'd figure just to cover it. PHENIBUT, I'd rate it 6 out of 10. It's very effective, but the issues are the side effects and the come downs and some of the bad things you hear about it, but there's no denying that it's one of the most known nootropics out there to help with decreasing levels of anxiety. Although it's not that effective for me, but other people seem to really like it. I'm scrolling through S. C-Max is not here, but C-Max I would definitely consider a nootropic. I will rate it 7 out of 10. It's similar to NOOPEPT in that it's going to help with your focus, your concentration, a little bit of a mood uplift, but nothing too noticeable. But what makes it different to NOOPEPT is that it's similar to lion's mane in that you're able to think a little bit more creatively and out of the box. But the con with C-Max is some users do report speeding up and accelerating hair loss, which nobody obviously wants. Alright, next, taurine. I would rate it 7 out of 10. It's not so effective, but what's good is it's relatively safe, and it goes very well with caffeine. I almost find like when I mix caffeine and taurine, it like prolongs the stimulating effects of caffeine, which is one reason why you'll probably find taurine in a lot of popular energy drinks, like Rockstar, even the sugar-free, and I think 5 Hour Energy and some other popular ones have them. Theacrine or teacrine, I would rate it 5 out of 10. It's pretty cool in that what it does is it allows you to have some of the mental benefits that you'd get from caffeine without like the physical benefits, but I do think that it's pretty overrated and not as effective as just taking caffeine itself. Tribulus, I would rate it 7 out of 10. It's supposedly going to help with low T levels, and a lot of people may say that it won't do anything. For me, it works, but only in one brand. I've tried different brands, and I really like the Now Foods version, 750 milligrams to 1 gram. But what I found, and my theory with Tribulus, is that it's one of those things that's only really going to work subtly for your mood if you're somebody that either has low testosterone or like mid to low testosterone, whereas I kind of fit that category. Uridine, I would rate it 4 out of 10. I think it's good in that you can add it to a lot of different nootropic stacks, but if you have something like CDP-CHOLINE or alpha-GPC, it's just not a necessary supplement in my opinion. Vinpocetine, I would rate it 2 out of 10. I didn't notice much from it. It's similar to HUPERZINE-A in that it was really talked about back when other nootropics weren't so popular, but it's not that effective. It does have some benefits shown, especially when you mix it with caffeine. You can experience a slightly better memory, but nothing too noticeable. Yohimbine, that one's tricky. I would rate it 8 out of 10 just because it's so effective and its ability to induce a euphoria when you mix it with caffeine and L-TYROSINE. Like, you can't really find that anywhere else. But with Yohimbine, it's like you have to be so careful because it's very strong. It does induce a little bit of anxiety, and it does take a lot of trial and error to get it right. You have to take it fasted. You can't have it in the presence of any insulin. And sometimes you'll respond well, sometimes you won't. But that being said, you can't ignore that it's pretty effective in terms of just inducing a better mood. And next we've got 5-HTP. I would rate it 6 out of 10. You can't ignore that the stuff works. It's very effective. For me, I definitely get an acute feel of just feel really good. It's like a band-aid. Even if you're in a bad mood, you take 50 milligrams or 100 milligrams of 5-HTP. It's very effective. I've talked about it more in depth over here, and I'll make a more extensive video on it because it's a cool nootropic that way. But there are some things to take into consideration with it. Number one, it's not like a long-term solution. You can't be taking this stuff 2 to 3 times a day to fight off a bad mood. And there's some people talking about serotonin syndrome out there and what it can do that way, which doesn't make it ideal. So if you're new to nootropics and you're experiencing some sort of slump, then I would recommend that you check out this video here or some other good videos if you're a beginner to nootropics. Are 2 videos on my page, 5 nootropics for beginners, as well as the nootropic stack that doubled my income. Let me know if this video was helpful, guys. Be sure to drop a comment, give it a like, a subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you all next time.